Hi, it's Marva, and I'm back with Hope One Day at a Time. Well, today I want to talk to you, and it's Thursday. And Thursday, I want to call it Life 101. I always believe in helping someone to be better and to learn from other people's mistakes as much as possible so that their mistakes can be your stepping stone, because you don't have to always go through hard knock life if you can learn from somebody else's mistakes, or their innocence or their ignorance, either way, but to learn so that you'll become knowledgeable. And knowledge is powerful if you use it correctly. So, based on that point, I'd like to share something that happened to me, and I hope it will be a blessing to you. Some years ago, I was working a seasonal job and working for a reputable company. I don't think I'll call the name, but I was working during the Christmas season, working for them. And I was hoping that it will last until January, because some people return gifts during January after the Christmas season. So I was just hoping and praying that I could get a little extensive time on this job. However, when it was over, they asked me to leave, and I gave back my uniform, and disappointed, but I left. Now, mind you, I took this job maybe hoping that I could start working for this company on a permanent basis. But there was no guarantee because, number one, it was a seasonal job just for Christmas, and two, I was living in an at-will state. And so, at will, they can fire you at will, never give you an excuse, never say anything to you at all. Just ask you to leave, and you don't have any say or any power, which is, I think, a very bad thing, but that's what it is for some states. Anyway, I left, and I thought, okay, it's just a seasonal job. God will open up a door for me to have something else. Well, it's a couple of years later, and I'm still looking for a permanent, and I mean a permanent job. And I get a call from a recruiter who says they have an administrative assistant position open for the same company that I worked for that particular Christmas. And I was so excited because I really want to do administrative work. Well, she calls me back and says that she wants to put my name in, and she just happens to ask, did you work for them before? And I said, yeah, I worked for them before. She said, really? Okay. She went back and she told them that I did. They looked me up. They looked me up and they told her, I'm sorry, we cannot go forward with that name because she is not able to work for us at all. And so she called me back and says, I'm sorry, I want to have you work because you have the qualifications for the job, but they said, having worked for them, you are no longer hireable. I said, excuse me? I said, what? What do you mean? She says, that's what they said. I said, well, did they tell you why? She said, no. She says, you just can't work for them anymore. Well, that didn't sit well with me. And if you know me, I don't always take no for an answer. I believe that you need to find out what is going on as much as possible. You want to get the truth. You want to understand. You want to learn a lesson so that you won't have to repeat it again. So I kept calling, and it was very difficult. I mean, difficult to get to HR for this particular company. But I finally got through to HR, and I spoke to someone, and the person just duly told me, I looked at your file, and it just says you're not hireable. I said, but what does the file say? What what did the supervisor say? Who wrote the report? Why did they write the report? I said, when I left, all I was told was that my season was over, and that was it. Nothing more, nothing less. I didn't argue with anyone. I didn't have a fight. I wasn't late. I wasn't rude. I wasn't disrespectful. I mean, what is in my file? And she says, well, this is what the supervisor says, and we go with what the supervisor says. Well, I said, well, the supervisor never talked to me. I never given a warning. I was never brought into a meeting. I said, this doesn't make any sense, especially if you're going to tell me I can't work for the company at all for the rest of my life. I think that's kind of wrong. I think there should be at least a reason written. And then she says, well, do you have anything written? I said, no, no one gave me anything. And that is why I'm talking to you today. If you're living in an at-will state and you decide to work a seasonal job and they let you go, make sure you get something in writing so you know when you leave that place that they have given you an understanding that you left on good terms. I left not knowing that I wasn't on good terms from their standpoint, and I only knew this like 2 years later or 3 years later, 2 to 3 years later. That's not fair to me. But you can't fight some of these companies because they protect themselves on a law that is not fair, but they can get away with it because it still exists to protect them. So my suggestion to you is, anytime you work for any company, and even if it's not an at-will state, if you work for a company and they let you go, get something in writing from them so that you know that you left on good terms. And as a matter of fact, if you can get them to write you a recommendation letter, let them do that for you. That is my suggestion to you, and I hope it will be a blessing. Once again, this is Hope One Day at a Time. This is Marva, and I shared with you some hope today so you can cope in a better way. Remember, God gave His best so that you could pass your test and experience divine rest. Thus I bid you a fond adieu. With the Holy Ghost upon me, I say I love you. Take care, and remember, hope one day at a time. Bye.